Hello students, welcome to the demo session of professional web designing course. So what do you understand by web designing or website designing? Website designing means the art, the technique of designing a website. Now, web designing or web technologies have two broad segments. One is front-end designing and the other is back-end development. So if now I'll share the screen with you. Now if you take a notepad, so web designing, or you can say web technologies, is one and the same thing. It has two broad segments. A, front end designing, and the other is back end development. Now what is front end designing? Front end designing means when you open a website, what you see on the web browser, that is the front end designing. Just like if you open a website, suppose we open the institute website, we open the browser, web browser, Google Chrome, and type the URL. Now when the website opens, what you see on the browser, you see the layout of the website, how the different elements are placed in the website, how the images are placed, how the font is placed, how the text are placed, then how you place the different elements, and the color scheme that we are having for the website, and most importantly, how user-friendly your design is. That is the most important aspect of front-end designing. What is that important aspect? The aspect is how user-friendly your design is. Now, if you design a very flashy website and the user who comes to visit your website is confused, is not able to find what he or she wants to find. So they're clicking here, clicking there, trying to find out, trying to figure out and find what they want to find. So in that case, your design will fall flat because the design is not user-friendly. So the objective of a web designer or a front-end designer would not be how to design a flashy website. The objective would be to design a user-friendly website. The user will not come to your website to see your website and go gaga over it. User will come to your website to find something, to locate something, to find some information. Now suppose take the case of this our institute website. So when a user comes to the website, why they will come? Because they want to find information about some courses. They want to find some information about our services. They want to find the information about our location, the contact details. See, if they're not able to find that easily, and if they're confused, then what is the point in designing the website? Because the website is not to display your skill or your it is not about to display your skill or your talent. Website is designed for an end user for a particular purpose. If that purpose is satisfied and if the user is satisfied, then you get positive response from the user, because the user will have positive experience and you will have positive response from the user. And if your website is not providing the data or the information what the user is looking for, then no matter how beautiful a website is or how flashy your website is, it doesn't really matter. Because at the end of the day, all that matters is how user-friendly your design is. How easily the user is able to find what he or she wants to find. So that is the most important aspect of web designing. Okay. Now let us one by one, we'll see the process of web design, the steps that is required to be followed if you want to design a website. And that is called the web design process. So let's come to that now. So what is front-end designing? Front-end designing is all about what you see on the browser. So that's the front-end design. Now process of front-end designing. So it has to follow a certain process. So step one, the first step, design a user-friendly template in Photoshop. So that is the first step. What is the first step? First step is not about coding. So there is a misconception that web designing means all about coding. Is coding? Coding is there, of course it is there, but it doesn't start with the coding. So the very first step that we need to do is design a user-friendly template or layout. Template is a layout basically. In Photoshop. And Photoshop, what is the Photoshop? Photoshop is the software. And the name of the software is Adobe Photoshop. So using Photoshop, you will design a user-friendly template or layout of the design. For example, if you want to see how a Photoshop template looks like, let us see that. So open your Photoshop. So the Photoshop opens. Now if you want to open a Photoshop template, web template, go to open. So we have some templates here. Now this is one template. So this is a template. So this is called a template that you design in Photoshop. Okay, and if you want to remove these lines, the blue lines that you see, these are called guidelines. If you don't want the guidelines, now what is the use of guidelines? I'll come to that later. But if you don't want the guidelines, go to view menu and click on extras, the guidelines will go. Now this is the template or layout that we have designed in Photoshop. Now what is a template? Now template is Photoshop template. Let's come to that now. The Photoshop template is a graphical representation of the website design that gives a clear idea of how a website would ultimately look like. So Photoshop template is a graphical representation of the website design that gives a clear idea of how a website would ultimately look like. So you have to visualize what ultimately the website you are going to design, how it is ultimately going to look like when it is completely designed, that website. So you visualize that. It's a visual representation. It's a graphical representation of ultimately how my website will look like. And this is an image. So template is an image and not a web page. It's not a web page. It's just an image. And that image is a graphical representation of the design that will give you a clear idea of how a website would ultimately look like. Visualize that and design the template. So you have to take all the factors into account. How will I design my layout? What is the color scheme that is involved? How to place the images? How to place different text? What is the font size, font color, color schemes, all that. And most importantly, as I said in the very beginning, how user-friendly the design is. Now, user-friendly is a very vast subject. So when we come to the actual training, so I'll explain what is user-friendliness and how to achieve the user friendliness, and what are the things you need to do to make your website user friendly. So those things I'll discuss later. But as of now, just understand that when you design a template, you have to take into account the most important factor is how user friendly your design is. So right from the Photoshop level, right from the level that when you are designing the template, you have to get the thing very clear. If I have to make my website user friendly, then how do I design it? The basic layout. How do I design the basic layout? So that is done in Photoshop, template design. And that template, as I said, it's not a web page, it's just an image that gives an idea. Now step 2. Step 2 is HTML. HTML code. What is HTML? Full form HTML is hyper text markup language. HTML. HTML, hypertext markup language. Now, what is HTML? HTML is the basic language required to design a website. So if you are attempting to design a website, you have to learn HTML. There is no other way. You cannot design a website with any other language apart from HTML. So HTML is the basic fundamental language required to design a website. Just like if you want to learn a particular language. So what you do, you start with the alphabets. Then you learn how to use the alphabet to form words. Then you join words to form a sentence. And you join sentences to form an essay. So basic fundamental is how to learn the alphabet, right? So in HTML also, if you want to design a website, you have to learn HTML. There is no other way. There is the most fundamental basic language required to design a website. Then comes step 3. That is your CSS. CSS means cascading style sheet. C cascading style S sheet S. CSS. What is the use of CSS? CSS is required to define a set of styles that is to be applied to HTML. So CSS is required to define a set of styles that is to be applied to HTML. Now, why this style is required? Why not only HTML? Now, to understand this, let's take the analogy of construction of a multi-storied building. So if you have noticed how a building is constructed, First, the engineer will set up the foundation. So he'll build the foundation first. That will give strength to the entire building. Because if the foundation is not properly done, the building will lack the strength to withstand, and within a few days it will fall down, it will collapse. So the engineer will set up the foundation first and make the building strong, give strength to the building. After the foundation is done, then the next step is to construct the beams and pillars that will give strength to the building again. So you can build one story after another. And to build one story over another story, what you need? You need beams and pillars. The beams and pillars will give strength to the building. Now, when it comes to HTML, is the same thing. So when you are designing a website, to make sure that website is strong and the structure is strong. So in HTML, you would design the basic structure. You would design the foundation, place the beams and pillars, make the structure strong. That is done in HTML. And then after the structure is done, what the engineer does, he fits in doors, windows, expensive fittings and all that, furniture and everything. So here, that is done by the styling. So styling takes care of the outer look and feel, how it will look outside to the outsider. The look and feel, outside look and feel. That's like paint, expensive doors, windows, fittings, the outside look. So similarly, cascading style sheet, CSS, will take care of the outer look and feel, how beautiful it is arranged in the outer part. So HTML is used to build a structure, strong structure, because when you design a website, a lot of things will come into HTML. So at one point of time, you'll be inserting JavaScript, then you'll be inserting jQuery, then you'll be inserting SEO tags, then you'll be inserting backend program, then you'll be inserting database. So a lot of things will come into HTML. And if your HTML structure is not strong enough, so at one point of time, it will collapse and everything will fall apart. So in order to build a strong HTML structure, for website, that is done using HTML. And as I said, cascading style sheet will give the outer look and feel, how beautiful it looks from the outside. So that is the job of the CSS. So HTML and CSS goes hand in hand. So if there is HTML and no CSS, it doesn't make any sense. And if there is CSS without HTML, that also doesn't make any sense. So HTML and CSS will go together and build the website. So that is the use of CSS. Now let's come to the step 3. So let me tell you one more thing here. In HTML coding, we'll be learning HTML5 version. So this is the latest version of HTML, that is HTML5. And in CSS, we'll be learning the latest version of CSS, that is CSS3. That is the latest version of CSS. So latest version of HTML is HTML5 and latest version of CSS is CSS3. So we'll be doing that. Then step 4, what you do, convert the Photoshop template into a web page. This process of converting a Photoshop template into a web page is called integration. So what is the first step? First step would be to convert the Photoshop template into a web page. So the Photoshop template that we have designed in the very beginning, and as I said, it is only a graphical representation. It is not a website or a web page. Now in the fourth step, after you learn what is HTML, what is CSS, in the fourth step, what you do, you convert the Photoshop template into a web page. And this process of converting the Photoshop template into a web page is called integration. The process is called integration, right? So that is your step 4. Then step 5. Add jQuery widgets into HTML. Now inside the HTML, you have to add some jQuery widgets. What are jQuery widgets? To apply interactive elements to a web page. Now what is jQuery widget? jQuery widget, W-I-D-G-E-T. So what are widgets? Widgets are basically interactive elements that are applied to a web page. For example, now take the case of this website, Institute website. Now see, this is one interactive element. This one banner goes, another banner comes here. When I click on this, so it will stop. When I click on this, it will move forward. When I click on this, it will move backward, right? So this is one interactive element, means the user can interact with the website. The user can interact with the website and the website will respond. So these are called interactive elements. For example, another example of interactive widgets is this. When I bring the mouse over this, you see the drop down menu comes. And when I drag the mouse away again, the drop down thing goes off. Again, when I bring the mouse over this, the drop down thing comes again. And again, it goes off. So it is not permanent. When I bring the mouse over this, only then I get the drop down. So this is called a drop down. Drop down. And when I drag the mouse away from it, again the drop down goes off. So this is also interactive element, means the user can interact with the website. So user does something and website is responding to that. Those are called interactive elements. Now, what is the purpose of adding interactive element? To make the website more interesting. So suppose I design a website, plain website, vanilla website. I don't add any interactive widgets. There is no interactive element in this. So visitor will come to the website, view the website and go off. They will not find it interesting. If I just design a website without any interactive widgets. Means now if I add some interactive widgets, then user will find it interesting and they'll spend more time on the website. They'll click here, click there and see what is happening. See, when I bring this mouse on this chat with us, this box is opening. This is also interactive widget. So this is an interactive widget. Then this banner rolling, this is called rolling banner. So one banner goes, another banner comes. That is also interactive widget. Then this drop down menu, this is called drop down menu. This is also interactive widget. So various interactive widgets are added on the website to make the website more interesting to the user. Correct. So that is the purpose of adding interactive widgets. Element to a page to make the web page more interesting. To the user. So you have to make the website more interesting to the user. What you do, you apply interactive elements or widgets, and those widgets are created using jQuery. There is a library of JavaScript that is called jQuery. So using jQuery widgets, you create those interactive elements and add to the web page to make it more interesting to the user. So that is your step 5. Then you have step 6. Add JavaScript for form validation. Now, after applying the widgets, what you can do, you can add JavaScript. So JavaScript is a scripting language. So using JavaScript, what you can do, you can validate your forms. What is form validation? Let's see that. Now, suppose again, when you go back to the website, now suppose I click on contact us. So in contact us, we'll find there is a form. Now, say, for example, this is the form. So when I fill this up, now suppose it asks me to fill the name. I fill up the name and it will say that your name should have at least 5 characters, right? Or your name should have only alphabetical characters, no numerics. So this is called validation. So that validation is basically to validate a form field. So when you fill up the form field, now suppose you are filling up the name. So form field will, suppose your name consists of say 3 characters, but the form field says that at least 8 characters has to be inserted. So you have to type 8 characters at least, to validate that field. Or say suppose password should have say 8 characters and it should be alphanumeric. So if you don't follow the rules, that will not be validated. The field will not be validated. So that is called form validation. And that is done using JavaScript. So using the JavaScript language, scripting language, JavaScript, you validate the forms. Then step 7. Make the web page responsive using Bootstrap framework. Responsive. Now, what is the meaning of responsive? Responsive page. Responsive means to make it compatible with all kinds of screen width. Now, as you can see, I am viewing this website on a laptop, which has a bigger screen. Now, if I want to view the website on a tablet or on a mobile screen, obviously the screen width is narrow, so my design has to fit, has to be compatible with the screen width. The design cannot go out of the screen width. So the process of making a design compatible with all kinds of screen width, be it desktop or laptop or tablet or mobile, any screen width, to make it compatible with any kind of screen width, that process is called responsive designing. So responsive designing means compatibility with all compatibility of the design with respect to all types of screen width. So if the screen is narrow, like a mobile phone, that my design has to be compatible with that. If I get a little bigger screen, that is your tablet, my design has to be compatible with that. And if I view it on a laptop, the design should be compatible with laptop, or a desktop, it should be compatible with the desktop screen. So making your website compatible with all kinds of screen width, that technique is called responsive designing, right? So let's come to that. So responsive designing is what? Making the screen width, making the design compatible to all types of screen width. Be it mobile, tablet, laptop, desktop, etc. So it has to be compatible, because you cannot design different designs for different screen width. I cannot have a separate website for a desktop. I cannot have a separate website for laptop. I cannot have a separate website design for a mobile. I cannot have a separate website design for a tablet. I cannot do that. So I have to do a general website design that will be compatible with all kinds of screen width. And the technique of doing that is to make the website responsive. So responsive design means that we are making the web design compatible with all kinds of screen width. Okay. So that's the responsive design. There is a step 7. And then you have step 8. So up till now, what we have done, you have designed only the home page. So up till now, only the home page of the design of the website. Up till now, home page of the website is completed. Now what is the home page? Home page is the page that opens first. Now suppose I type tech synergie.in. That's the website URL. When I do this, the first page opens is this page. That opens is this page. And this page is called the home page or the landing page. Okay. So this is called the home page or landing page. So up till now, what we have done is just to design the home page. The first page is designed. Now what we have to do, we have to design the inner pages. See, there are so many pages now. So this is the home page, then courses offered. On the courses offered page, there's so many other pages here. Then you have the faculty page, you have the training methodology page, you have the services page, you have the contact page. So many pages are there. So all the other pages apart from the home page, these are called inner pages. These are called inner pages. So home page is the home page. This is the first page that opens, and other pages are called the inner pages. So what you do after completing the home page, you start designing the inner pages. So now inner pages are designed based on the home page design. So you design the inner pages. All the other pages you design, those are called the inner pages. After designing, next interlink all the pages with the home page. So after you complete design the home page, then you design the inner pages. After completing the design of the inner pages, what you do, you interlink them. Next thing is to interlink them. So that gives the shape of a website. Now, if you take only one page, that is a web page. Now, what is a website? Website is a collection of web pages. Website is a collection of web pages which are interlinked to each other. So I have the home page, all these separate pages you design, the inner pages you design. After designing all the inner pages and the home page, you interlink them. Interlink. So by interlinking, what you can do, what will happen when you interlink? You can navigate seamlessly from one page to another page. Now suppose from home page, I want to go to faculty page. I click on this, it will take me to faculty page. Then from faculty page, I want to go to training methodology page. I click here, it goes here. From here, I want to go to contact page. I click here, it goes to contact page. Then I want to come back to courses offered page. It will come to courses offered page. Then I want to come back again to home page. It will come back to home page. So that means the pages are all linked, interlinked. So all the pages have been interlinked, and this is the process of interlinking all the pages. So when you interlink all the pages, what will happen? You can seamlessly navigate from one page to another page and back. So that is the purpose of interlinking. So you design a web page first, then you create the inner pages, and when you interlink the inner pages with the home page, then you get the shape of a website. So what is a website? Website is a collection of web pages that are interlinked to each other or to the home page. So now, after interlinking, what will happen? Now, a complete website is designed. So you design the home page, design the inner pages, and interlink all the pages. After doing that, you now have the complete website designed. So that is your step 8. So when the website design is complete, what do you do now? Now you have step 9. Host the website on the remote web server. So after website is designed, what you do? You host it on the remote web server. You purchase the domain registration, you get the hosting package, And after that, you can host your website on the remote web server. Means till now, what is happening is I am designing the website on my local system, is with me locally. But after I complete the design, just like a book, till the time the writer is writing the book is with the writer. And once writer completes writing the book, what he'll do, he'll publish it. And when he publishes it, the book will go out of his hand. It will go to the general public. The same thing here also. To design a website, and after the website is designed, so from your system, you have to host it on the remote web server so that any person from any part of the world, they can see your website, provided that they know the URL of the website, they know the address of the website. So if a person knows the address of the website, just like here, techsynergy.in. So this is the address, this is the URL, this is called the URL or address. So if you know the address of the website, then from any person from any part of the world, they can see the website. And that process is called hosting. You have to host it on the web server from your local system. Okay, so that is your step 9. And step 10 is live project. So at the end of it, you have to do a complete live project based on whatever you have learned up till now. So that is your front end. So this is your front end part. Means what you see on the browser. Then you have the back end part. So what is back end? Back end development. Now take the case of, suppose take the case of Yahoo. Now you see there is a sign in button here. When you sign in, first of all, you have to register, right? So after registration, you get the username and password, and then entering the username and password, you can sign in. Now, before signing in, you create an account here, right? I create the account. Now here you fill up your full name. Then what is the email ID you want that you fill up, the password you want that you fill up, date of birth you fill up, everything. Then next. So in this way, you create the account. So when you create the account, where does this data go? The data that you are filling up here, have you ever wondered where this data is going? The data goes to a backend database. So there is a database at the backend. And database looks somewhat similar to an Excel sheet. So first name, there'll be a column for first name, there'll be a column for last name, there'll be a column for your password, there'll be a column for date of birth. So whatever data you fill up, so data will go into the database and fill up the respective columns. Then another person again fills up the same form. So another row will be created. One additional row will be created for that. Full name. Then again another person fills up the form and submits. Then it will create another row in the database and fills up the restricted fields. So these are called form fields. And the form field data will go to respective columns in the database. Now, can you see the database? No, database is not visible to the outside user. So it is happening behind the user. You are not able to see it. Just like front end, you are able to see it. But back end, what is happening, back end functionality that is happening, you are not able to see it because that is happening behind the user. So therefore that is called backend. What you cannot see, the functionality part. The data is going to a database. That is the functionality part that you cannot see. So that is called the backend. So in backend, what you have? You have the backend programming language. PHP with MySQL. PHP with MySQL. MySQL is the database. PHP is the platform and MySQL is the database. And based on that, you have the WordPress, CMS framework. Now, WordPress is a framework. It's not a programming language. Programming language is PHP or programming platform, you can say. Not instead of language, let's call it platform. So why PHP is required? Because WordPress is a framework that runs on PHP platform. So WordPress is not a language, it's a framework. And that framework runs on the platform that is called PHP. So you have to learn the PHP with MySQL, basic, at least the basic part you have to learn. Learn the basic part of it, and then you come to WordPress. Now, because to install the WordPress framework, what you need the PHP platform and MySQL database. Without that, WordPress will not be possible because WordPress framework runs on PHP platform. So you have to learn PHP and MySQL basic first, and then you get into WordPress CMS framework. Now, what is CMS? CMS is again, it's called Content Management System. Content Management System, CMS. So what is Content Management System? I'll give you an idea of that. Now imagine that you have designed your website on HTML. Now coming to the backend part, see, you need to understand one thing clearly, that every website doesn't require a backend. Backend will be required only when you have some backend functionality related to database. If you don't need that, then your website will not have any backend. Only front end is enough. Front end design is enough. But if you want some backend development where you want to store some data and that will involve the database, only the backend thing will come into use. Otherwise not. So website you can design a website even without a backend. Front end design is enough for that. But if you want to have a backend database and database platform and the platform on which the database will perform, for that you need to develop the backend. Otherwise not. So backend is not compulsory. Only when you have some backend data and use a backend database, only then you develop the backend, otherwise not. Now, in case of WordPress, this backend is required. Why? Now, because of the content management system. Now, what is content management system? Let us understand that. Now, you see here, you take the case of e-commerce website, say www.amazon.in. As you know, Amazon is a e-commerce website. E-commerce commerce website means what? E-commerce is a platform or portal through which you can buy and sell products, services online marketplace, you can call it. So to develop this kind of online e-commerce portal, so you have to use the framework of WordPress. Why? Because WordPress gives you the CMS, the content management system. Now imagine that you have designed this Amazon portal only with HTML. Only with HTML. This outer look and feel. Now suppose you want to make some change in the design. So every time you need to make some change in the design, or you want to update the design, or you want to make some alteration to the design, you have to run back to the designer and request the designer to make the changes in the design, provided you don't have any knowledge of designing development. Suppose you are thus the website owner, and imagine that you do not have any knowledge of design development. So every time some small changes has to be done, you have to run back to the designer and get the changes done. And that is a big botheration. Moreover, when it comes to e-commerce portal like this, every day thousands of products are added. Hundreds of products are phased out. Prices keep changing. You got different offers. New products come, old products go out. There are a lot of changes happening on a daily basis, every day, and in huge volume. Now imagine if you are designing a website in HTML and you have to deal with such huge volume of coding every day. Is it possible, humanly possible, to make those changes on a daily basis? No. So there comes the use of CMS, Content Management System. So Content Management System, what it does, it provides a framework through which any person with or without knowledge of any web designing, they can update the content on their own. They can make the change in the content on their own. For example, today it is showing here this cushion, cover, bed sheet, and all this. And tomorrow I want to change this image, I want to change this item. So I don't have to rush back to the designer and get the changes done. What I can do, if I have the CMS, the content management system installed with my portal, then I can go to the CMS and make the changes myself without having to depend on the website designer. So I can do it on my own without writing a line of code. That's the best thing about CMS. So without writing a line of code, you'll be able to make changes in the content and update the content without depending on the web designer, on your own. So that is the job of the CMS. So if you have a CMS design behind the portal, then with the help of the CMS, you can update the content. And CMS requires a database, and that database will come only with PHP. So therefore, you have to learn PHP, you have to learn basic of database, and then get into CMS, WordPress CMS. You'll be able to understand it better, right? And after this, WordPress is completed, you'll be able to design a website, an e-commerce website, a normal website with HTML, a front-end website, and that is called a static website, which doesn't have any database, and a website which has a database, that is called your dynamic website. So static website and dynamic website. Static website are those websites which does not have a database, and dynamic website are those websites which has a database. So in this case, our WordPress website will have a database, so therefore it's called dynamic website or dynamic portal. And the HTML website will be called a static website because it doesn't have any database. And at the end of it, after WordPress, you do a live project. You have to do a complete live project again. So this is the complete overview of this course, web designing course, which involves a front-end designing and back-end development. Okay. Now the duration of the course is 4 months, and it will be 1 hour per day, 6 days a week, and it will be purely assignment based. We'll do theories, but theory will not be the main thing, because you have to give maximum stress on developing the skill, and the skill you will develop only when you do regular assignments. So by doing regular assignment, you develop the skill because it is purely skill based. You become a web designer based on your skill, not by the knowledge. Knowledge, okay, you may feel, okay, I know web designing, I have the knowledge, but that is not, you have to need to have the skill. Now, suppose you know how to play football. Is that enough? No. You have to go out in the play football in the field. When you are able to play the football on the field, that means you have the skill. Knowing is not enough. So same thing here also. Knowing web design is not enough. You have to have that requisite skill to design a website on your own. And for doing that, you have to do assignment on a regular basis to develop the skill. And at the end of it, you have to do a live project for the front end and the live project for the back end. 2 projects you have to do. And the duration of the course is 4 months. 6 days a week and 1 hour per day. So I hope you got a clear idea about what is web designing, what is front-end design, what is back-end development, what are the steps involved in front-end designing, what are the steps involved in back-end development. So all these things are, I hope it is clear to you now. So let's end it here today. And tomorrow we'll get into the actual nitty-gritty of design, how a website is designed. Okay, so for that, we'll start with the Photoshop tomorrow, because Photoshop is the first step for designing a website. You have to design a template. So how to design template in Photoshop, that will come later. First of all, you need to understand Photoshop. You start from the very beginning in Photoshop, understand the basics of Photoshop, and then get into how to design a template. Okay, so in this way, we'll cover all the processes of designing a website. So thanks for joining this session. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.